I want to share something with you that a fifth grader wrote about parents. Here's a fifth grader. Sometimes the Bible says in Isaiah, and a little child shall lead them. Here's what a fifth grader wrote about parents. He said, we as kids don't realize how lucky we are. In fact, many of us take our parents for granted. We worry too much about things instead of what is really important in life. Things are desires, not requirements. Here's a fifth grader. Our possessions take up too much time and effort in life. What we should really be doing instead is to show forth our love. We must try to consider the important things in life and don't worry about those wants. Love, faith, hope, and peace are, to me, the importance of life. Without these, we would be worthless. That is why we must try to never forget these things, the things that matter. So not all comes down to the kind and loving parents that we all have, the ones who have put up with us for all these years. They have given us so many things needed: a roof over our head, clothing for our body, food for our growth. They have given us all of these things, but what have we given to them? Even how hard we try, we will never be able to thank them enough for all the important things that they have given us. A fifth grader wrote that. Did you know that according to Jewish tradition, to honor one's parents means to serve food and drink to them, to provide clothing and shelter, and to lead them in and out as long as the parent is alive. The Jewish tradition interpreted reverence as meaning that you should not stand or sit in a parent's reserved place, nor should we contradict their words. Folks, back in the day, you didn't argue with your parents. Honor was demonstrated not by a nice Mother's Day card or Father's Day card. Honor was demonstrated through acts of kindness and caring, while reverence meant to refrain from actions that dismiss their parents' role or that diminish their roles in any way or embarrass them in public. And let me tell you this, these simple distinctions are still just as relevant for us today. If you will ever take a look at the life of a person who dishonors their parents, I guarantee you, you'll discover that it is not well with them. Anybody who gives their parents hell will have hell in their own life. That's a promise. You will sow to the wind, but you will reap the whirlwind. And let me tell you this, your honoring your parent has little to do with whether or not they deserve it. You need to do it for the blessing that comes to your life. It is the only commandment that came with promise. The Bible said if you honor your mother and your father, you pledge your honor your mother and your father. The Bible said that you have long life, and the New Testament clarifies that it will be well with you. You won't just live long, but you'll live a long life and it'll be well with you. You'll be fulfilled. Because did you know that if children don't learn to honor their parents, they're given little basis for honoring anything or anybody else. They won't honor teachers, they don't honor police officers, they won't honor religious leaders, they won't honor their employers. But the command to honor parents is not qualified. It does not say honor them if they are a person who is deserving of the honor, or if they always reciprocate something, or if it's pleasing to you to do it. It doesn't mention to it whether they've been an ideal parent. It doesn't say honor them if they've been the perfect parent to you. It doesn't qualify. It says honor your mother and your father, and God would bless you. See, you have to do it for you, and not only for you but for your children. The commandment doesn't say honor your parents if it feels right. It just says do it, because no parents are typical and no parents are perfect. We don't honor them for that. We honor them because they are the ones who brought us to growth and wholeness of life, and they've given direction to us. Even in the Jewish tradition, this honor was not only given to parents, it was given to anybody who taught them. It was given to teachers, it was given to elders, because you know back in the day, old folks would correct you. You didn't have to be their child. They would spank you and call your mom and tell her what you did. She would spank you, and then she said, now you wait till your daddy gets home. It's very interesting to see it, but each of us, whether we have children or not, you're giving birth to the next generation. And we do it either by being wise or foolish, by being loving or hostile, by being arrogant or humble in their presence. And we are giving birth to it. And your real family sometimes is not even about people that's blood related to you. They're about people that are connected to you in spirit, people that have poured into your life that have helped you to grow. There are people that are connected, and he says, honor them, honor them, honor them. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 12 and verse 50, who is my mother? Who is my brother? Who is my sister? He said, anybody who does the will of my Father, the same is my brother and my sister and my mother. And so he's talking about your real folks, or the folks that have poured into your life. Shakespeare reminds us, he said, how sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child. May I tell you that when I moved out of my parents' home at 21 years old, when I moved out, I took the time to write the head of my home, my father. I wrote him a letter of honor. And I thanked him for everything that he'd ever done in my life. I honored him. My mother told me years later, she said, your daddy kept that letter under his pillow for the longest. He cherished that letter. Something on the inside of me said, you need to honor them. You need to honor them. I took outstanding teachers in my life, and I wrote them letters thanking them, folks that were paid by the school system to teach me. And I sent letters, some of my teachers. Sometimes I wouldn't just send a letter, I sent money with them. Because honor is honorarium. It has to do with money, worth, and value. And I'd send teachers sometimes $1,000 and said, thank you for what you invested into my life. Thank you for helping me to become who I am today. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't do it because anybody told me to do it. That was an honor that came out of it. I did it because I had honor in me. And let me tell you this, it didn't diminish me. It made me better. I think I got blessed more because I took the time to honor. I can't tell you what will happen in your life when you honor as you're really called to honor. Honoring your parents, let me give a footnote here and say that it does not include doing something that is immoral or illegal just because your parents said so. Don't let them have you running dope for them. We have a heavenly Father that we must first obey, and then we have a law of the land that we must honor. So it does not give an exclusion to do those kinds of things. And then let me tell you this. There was a man that actually lived with his son and daughter-in-law and their children, his grandchildren. And he lived with them for several years, and as he grew older, he couldn't be as helpful and productive in the house as he had been in previous years. And he would come to the dinner table, and sometimes he'd shake, and his peas and carrots would fall off of his fork and fall on the floor, and he'd just make a mess at the table. And it got to the point that it began to irritate his own son and his daughter-in-law. They thought that it was setting a bad example for their grandchildren. And so they said, Daddy, we're going to put your food in a wooden bowl, and we're going to feed you in your room. They made for him, as it were, a trough and treated him like a pig because he was dirty. And one day the father came home, and he saw his young son making something out of wood. And he said, son, what are you doing? Are you making yourself something? He said, no, Dad, I'm making something for you. He said, what are you making? He said, I'm making you a nice wooden bowl. He said, that's nice. Maybe I can put fruit in it. He said, oh, no, it's not for you to use now. He says, this is for when you get old, and I can feed you in your room like you do with Grandpa. Because how you treat your parents is teaching your children how to honor you. And the father's heart was convicted, and that night he went in to his dad and apologized to him. And he led the old man by the hand and brought him back to the family table. A man who really lived because he cherished the relationships. You get to a certain age and you don't want a new set of clothes. You don't want any jewelry. You don't even want a special trip to go anywhere. You want to be with people that you love, people that you care about, and people who care about you. They wanted to be with family. And he led him back to the table where he could have fellowship with his son, his daughter-in-law, and his grandchildren. And Grandpa was still shaking, still dropping food all over the place. But for some reason this time it didn't aggravate them any longer. They could somehow tolerate it, and it became grandpa. And it set a different honor, but he was restored because of what his son was doing, and he didn't realize that he was teaching his own children how to treat him when he got older. And that's the lesson that it speaks to us, is that the honor that you give is the honor that you'll receive. And when you take the time to say, I will honor my mother and my father, all that I can tell you is that there will be a blessing that will come into your life that is inexplicable. When you begin to dishonor people that have taught you and poured into your life and helped you to grow, you cut your own blessings. There are inexplicable blessings that will come to you when you honor God, when you honor the Sabbath and keep it holy. I bless you for making time out of your schedule to be here today. This is the Lord's day. It is a holy Sabbath, and may I just tell you, when you do that out of the right heart, that God will give you double in making the 6 days of your labor more productive so that you can take a day to be able to chill. You need a time to renew, to relax, to pull back, to reflect, to evaluate, and let God be God. Get your rest and learn to honor, because there's a God who loves you, and there's a bowl that's waiting if you want honor in a proper way.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Until next time, God bless you.